Hello guys, welcome to yet another tutorial by Anita Crochet. My name is Anita. The hook is my magic wand. So we have this honeycomb fringe long sleeved top. I made it in black and white. I feel I love the white more, but I think because I didn't find a color popping bikini to put underneath the black one, but they're all really nice and it's very simple. I'm going to take you through how to achieve this. But first, I want to thank you all that actually take the time to watch my tutorials. Those that support me, I'm really super grateful. To support me, you can always buy me a coffee via my coffee shop. I always leave the link in the description box, or just send me a super thanks via my YouTube channel. Also, I am thinking about memberships. I'll be doing a whole video about this, so you can give me your suggestions and let's see whether you guys are ready to make those subscriptions. Or just give me a green light in the comment section below. Remember to check out this top as well. It's also fringes, so let's get started with this one. So to get started, I'm working with robin. It's 100% acrylic and it is size 2 yarn, so I'm going to be doubling my strands. And then you'll need a hook. I'm going to be working with a 4.5mm hook, so it's just going to give me the tension that I want for this. Okay, so let's get started. First, we make a slip knot and I'm going to chain 7. Once we have all 7 chains, we are going to skip all the 6 and get back to the 7th chain stitch from the hook. And into the 7th chain stitch from the hook, we are going to work a double crochet just like that. So we have this thing that looks like a triangle, okay? Now from here we are going to chain 6. 3 of the 6 chains are going to act as a stitch, which is a double crochet stitch, and then the other 3 are for the chain gap. Okay, so we shall turn our work, and once we turn our work, we are going to yarn over, skip 1 into this chain gap right there. We are going to work a double crochet. Okay, that's in the next stitch. I'm just working into the chain gap because it's easier that way. Now chain 3, and now into the 3rd chain stitch of the 7 chains that started the previous row. Right there we work a double crochet. Are you seeing that? So we are going to chain 3 once again. Sorry, we are going to chain 6 once again. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, and we shall skip 1, and then into this very first chain gap we work a double crochet, chain 3 and skip 3. Okay, we get into the next chain gap, we work a double crochet. Okay, then we are going to chain 3, skip 1 into the 3rd chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row. We work a double crochet. So I'm going to keep saying skip 3 or skip 1, but of course we shall be working into the next chain gap. But literally, if we are to break it down for the stitches that we are skipping, we are literally skipping 3 and 1. Okay, so now here we are going to chain 6. We turn our work. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, so we shall skip 1 and work a double crochet, or basically just work a double crochet into the very first chain gap, then chain 3, skip 3 stitches and get into the next chain gap, work a double crochet. Okay, then chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet. That's in the next chain gap. And now we are making a new increment, so you're going to see it right here, so be attentive. So we chain 3 into the 3rd chain stitch of the 6 that started the previous row. We work a double crochet. So this is where our row should have ended, but then we are going to make an extra increment. So we chain 3 and then work a double crochet once again into this very same stitch. Okay, because if we go ahead increasing that way that we have to increase, you will find we have so many rows before we get the width that we need for our bust. So that's why I'm making this extra increment, okay, so that you guys can cope with it. Now for the next row, we chain 6, turn our work. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, and we shall skip 1 and work a double crochet into the very first chain gap, then chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. Okay, chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, and this you are going to do until you get to the very last chain gap. So I want to take you through so that you learn this increment and master it, because the series of increment that we are going to make. Okay, so once here and you're about to end your row, we need this extra increase like we did on the previous row. So here we are going to chain 3 into the third chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row. We shall work a double crochet, and to make that extra increment we work 3 chains and again work 1 double crochet into this very same stitch, which is the last stitch right there. So you work your double crochet. You can see that now our work is actually not increasing gradually, but making that increment that is going to get us to the width that we need for our bust without having to work so many rows and losing the whole entire design. Okay, so we are not going to have this increase on the next row, that extra increment on the next row. Rather, we are just going to work 6 chains, then work a double crochet into the first chain gap, chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. So just keep chaining 3, skipping 3 and working a double crochet into the next chain gap. All right, so just keep doing this until you get to the last chain gap. Okay, so far we have worked 2 rows that have that extra increment at the end. Okay, now for this row, once we get here, all right, we are going to chain 3, and then we shall get right into the third chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row and work a double crochet. We are not going to work an increment, that extra increment on this row, and that is the series I want you guys to follow. I'm going to repeat these 3 steps once again so that I let you work the rest of the project on your own. We have an increment at the end of the row, we have an increment at the end of the next row, and then the next row doesn't have that extra increment. We are doing this because if we keep working those extra increments on every row without having that sort of like pause, our work is going to like the tension of it at the edges is going to not look fine. So for the next row, we are going to have an increment at the end. So we shall chain 6, turn our work a double crochet into the first chain gap, chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, continue chaining 3 and skipping 3 stitches until you get to the end of the row. That's where I'm going to meet you guys, then show you how to end this row. Okay, I told you this top is going to be a 3-step repeat. Okay, so here we are almost at the end of the row, and here we shall chain 3, get into this very last chain gap. Okay, work a double crochet, now chain 3 into the third chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row. We are going to work a double crochet, and then chain 3 once again and work an extra increment. So we work the last double crochet once again in that very same stitch. Now here we are going to turn our work, and we are going to work this extra increment on the next row as well. Okay, so chain 6 and turn your work. 3 of the chains act as a stitch. Get into the very first chain gap and work your double crochet, then chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet into the next chain gap. Okay, work your double crochet in there. Once again, chain 3, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, and do this all the way until you come almost to the end of your row. That's where I'm going to meet you and also explain what to do. So basically, once we have the first 3 rows of the triangle, this is when we start this kind of series of increment, working an extra increase on the next row and the row after that. Then the next row will not have that extra increment. All right, so basically we are working 1 row of extra increment, 2 rows of extra increment, and then the next row is just going to be a normal increase without that extra increment. Okay, so also this row we are going to have the extra increment. Remember, we are having this extra increase at the end of the row. Okay, so right here I work my double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 3 and get into the third chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row. I will work a double crochet, then chain 3, once again go in there and work another double crochet. So the next row is just going to be normal, no extra increment. Okay, you see what I have? You can check out the chain gaps I have so that it matches the number of chain gaps that you have. I have written a pattern for this top, guys, and you can just go purchase the pattern on my Etsy and Ravelry. I always leave the links in the description box below. Okay, so you can purchase the pattern. Actually, the pattern is inclusive of size medium, large, and small. What I am doing in the tutorial is a size small. Okay, so for this row we are going to chain 6, turn our work a double crochet in the first chain gap, chain 3, skip 3 stitches, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, and continue chaining 3 and working 1 double crochet into the next chain gap until you get to the last chain gap. That's where I'm going to meet you and tell you what to do. So guys, as I was putting it forward for you guys, yes, the written pattern has vivid instructions for size small, medium, and large. So you can purchase the written pattern just in case you are not good at following videos, because I get that a lot. Some people just say, please make me a written pattern for this because I'm just not good at following videos. So the written pattern is in the description. The links to the written pattern are in the description box below. You can just check it out and purchase the patterns yourselves. All right, this tutorial is for a size small. So let's resume from here. Now here we are going to chain 3 and then get into the third chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row and work your double crochet. So basically here on this row we did not work that extra increments. Here I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, I have 8 rows and I'm just going to work a few more rows so that I have the width that I want for my bust. Okay, so make sure when you have an increase here on this row at the end, you should have an increment on the next row at the end, then the next row shouldn't have an increase. All right, so you keep doing this until you have the width that you need for your bust. Okay, for the bust that you're working this for. All right, now for me this is what I have for the bust I am working for, which is a size small. Okay, as you can see I have 12 rows going up. Okay, and then across I have 18 chain gaps. All right, so that will be very easier for you guys to like compare with what you have. I have 12 rows, all right, and I have 18 chain gaps across. Okay, so now I'm going to stop working the increase. Make sure that the bust that we are working this for is the measurement, that we are working this for is halfway your bust. If your bust is like 33, this should be like 15. Okay, now here we are going to chain 4. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, and into the very first chain gap we work a double crochet. Then we are going to chain 3, skip 3, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, and continue chaining 3 and skipping 3 stitches or working a double crochet right into the next chain gap. So just continue doing this until you get to the very last chain gap. That's where I'm going to meet you guys, then I show you what to do. Just to go on and explain a little more, the reason as to why I am not saying that it should be 15 point something inches, okay, like halfway your bust, is because this top is in position to stretch. Okay, now if it is in position to stretch, I usually love my tops to be like really snagging, like I don't know what they call it, but yes, I really want them to be fitting. So I usually leave out a few inches because I know, given the hook and the kind of yarn I have worked the project with, this is the kind of elasticity it's going to give me. So I know my project can stretch out a little more up to this kind of inches, okay? Or you can make use of your tape measure and make sure that you are working right onto your measurements, all right? Either way, you can purchase the pattern. It has vivid instructions that have been tested for sizes medium, small, and large. Now, once we get to the very last chain gap, we are going to chain 3 and get into the very last chain gap, work our double crochet. Now, to end our row, since we are no longer working increments, we want to go up straight, okay? Not making a sort of like a base for a triangle. Now, here we shall just chain 1 and get into the 3rd chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row, and there we shall work a double crochet. Now the next row we are going to chain 6, okay, and then turn our work. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, okay? So now, as you can see, this is more like half of a chain gap, okay, because a full chain gap has to be 3 chains. Now half of our chain gap gives us 1 chain. That's why the previous row was started with chain 4, not chain 6, okay? Now this row, because we are going to have a full chain gap, which is a chain gap that has 3 chains, we started with a chain 6. Now here we work a double crochet into the very first chain gap and then continue chaining 3 and working 1 double crochet into the next chain gap, chain 3, work a double crochet in the next chain gap, and we do this repeatedly until we get to the end of the row. Now you'll find at the end of this row, this row is actually going to be very, very even, because we are not going to have those half pieces of a chain gap at the end of the row. It's going to be a whole chain gap which will have 3 chains. I hope I'm being clear, okay? This top has a little mathematics, so I'm just going to be explaining so that you guys can actually get what I am doing and what I am saying. All right. Now, as you can see, I'm chaining 3 and working a double crochet in the next chain gap. And now I have 2 chain gaps left, so I will chain 3 and work a double crochet in the next chain gap. Now, as you can see, I have that half of a chain gap, which is a chain 1, then that double crochet, and then you see, so that gives me the 3 chains. So I chain 3 and get into the 3rd chain stitch of the 6 chains that started the previous row and work a double crochet. Now I'm going to have you guys repeat these 2 steps repeatedly until you have the length that you desire, okay? The next row is going to be started with a chain 4 and the next will be started with a chain 6. So this is what you should have. About 12 rows, so basically I have a total of 24 rows for my whole entire piece, okay? So your front piece and your back piece should have 24 rows. Now I've already worked my sleeve. I joined the shoulder and also joined the underbust, which is what I'm going to take you through on this side to show you how to join the shoulder and the underbust and also work your sleeve, okay? So like I said, make sure that you have 24 rows for the whole entire piece, okay? And also make sure it's the same number of rows you have for your back piece as well, okay? Follow what we have done for your second piece, so you have 2 pieces. Now I am going to count 9 rows from top going down, okay? And I'm going to mark the end of the 9th row right there. Also on this piece, I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And at the end of that 9th row, that's where I'm going to put my stitch marker, because this is what I want for my sleeve. Those are the rows that I need to spare for my sleeve, all right? So that means from the marked stitch going down is my underbust, all right? And then for my shoulder, I am going to spare 4 chain gaps, okay? But first I'm going to join the underbust so I have room for my sleeve. I'm going to get my yarn and insert my hook into the marked stitch. Make sure you are working into both stitches on both pieces so that we join this very, very well. We are starting the seam, our seam should either start or end at the row, which was the 13th row, the row where we stopped working increments, okay, and started going straight all the way up. That's where our seam should stop. So I'm going to insert my hook and pull through my yarn, turn my work, and then I'm going to work a single crochet into this very first stitch, which is the marked stitch. Now I am going to chain one and get into the bottom of the next, the top of the next double crochet stitch right there, and I'll work a single crochet, and I'll make sure that I'm working on both stitches of both pieces, just like that. So you pull through, then work a single crochet, chain one, get into the top of the next double crochet stitch right there onto both pieces and work a single crochet. The reason as to why I do this is I want my seam to look my project to look seamless. And also we usually work 2 single crochets for every double crochet post, so the chain one covers up for the 1 single crochet, and then the next single crochet that I work is the second single crochet that should have gone for this double crochet post. Okay, so just continue doing this until you get all the way down to where we stopped working an increment for that triangular piece of it. Okay, so this is where I have to stop, and from here I'll cut my yarn and weave in my ends, just like that. Now I'm going to get back and also mark where I should put my shoulders. Okay, and also for the shoulders I'm going to do something a little different but almost the same. Okay, so when you turn your work and look at where the seam is, you'll find that it looks seamless. You see that? It looks like it was just worked, almost the stitches are lining into each other. I hope I am very clear when saying this. Now for my shoulder, I'm going to I need a shoulder that is of 4 chain gaps, because this is a size small, just like I did on this side. It's exactly what I am going to do on this side. So I'm going to count 4 chain gaps and mark the stitch that ends the 4 chain gaps. I'm going to mark it on both pieces, the front and the back, and then start working my joining these two together from here. So I'm going to get my acting stitch marker and place it right into these stitches that I just marked for where my shoulder has to end. Okay, so given my work, I told you I have 18 chain gaps all the way across. So that means if I've marked 4 chain gaps for my left shoulder and 4 chain gaps for my right shoulder, I have a space of 10 chain gaps in between on both pieces for my neckline. All right, so I'm going to get my yarn and insert it into this very same stitch that I just marked, and I'm going to work towards the space I left for my sleeve, joining the 2 ends together. So this is what I'll do. I'll pull through my yarn, chain 1, and work a single crochet into this very first stitch, or the marked stitch. And here, because I also want my project to look seamless, I'm going to work a single crochet into this first stitch, and once I do that, I am going to work 3 chains, because remember our chain gaps have had 3 chains all along. So it's the very same thing I'm going to do even here. I'm going to work 3 chains. All right, so chain 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to skip 3 stitches and work into the next double crochet stitch on both pieces. I'll work a single crochet into the double crochet stitch, chain 3, skip 3, work a single crochet into the next double crochet stitch, and this I am going to do until I come to the end of my row and make sure I have joined fully everything together. Okay, don't just work your single crochet into 1 stitch of the front piece. You must make sure that you've gone also into the back piece and did the very same thing. I'm sorry my voice is a little bit low because I'm voicing this very early in the morning, so my voice is not yet actually very stable as yet. But yes, this is how it should look like. Okay, this is how it should look like. So basically when you turn your work in out, you'll find that the seam is actually looking perfect and all stitches have look aligned into each other. All right, so like I said, I have 10 chain gaps on both pieces, front and back, for my neckline, and I actually feel like this is just enough for my neckline. It's not too wide and it's not too narrow. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to start working on your sleeve so that we get this over with. I've already worked my sleeve. It's not yet complete. I still have a few rows to go, about like 5, because I have like 25 rows and I need to make 30 rows on my left sleeve. But let me take you through how to work your right sleeve. You'll just apply the same knowledge onto the other side as well. So here I'm going to go all the way down where I should call the bottom of my armpits, where my armpits are going to be, and in there I'm going to pull through my yarn and work a single crochet. Now I'm not going to be particular or specific about how many stitches you should work for every double crochet post, but I usually work 2 single crochets for every double crochet post. What I am going to tell you is, for whichever number of stitches that you work, just make sure that you have 39 single crochets all the way around. Okay, going up the edge of our front piece all the way to the back, all the way to the edge of the back piece that we spared for our sleeve. Okay, so I want you guys to have 39. For sizes medium or sizes large, of course, even the rows that you spared for your sleeve should be more than the ones we have for size small, because your arm wouldn't fit if you follow exactly what I did in here. So for those other sizes, please, you can just go purchase my pattern, or you can make adjustments. Have more rows on both the front and the back piece. Also, I expect that your chain gaps are more than what I have all the way across. And then you will have more rows to spare for your sleeve, and also you will need to work more single crochets, but just make sure it's divisible by 3. Okay, so go all the way across. I'll meet you at the end once you have all your single crochets complete. Okay, but just to give you more knowledge about what you have to spare for other sizes, you must make sure that the single crochets you work at the edge for your sleeve are divisible by 3, because we have been chaining 3 and skipping all those stitches. So basically the stitches should be divisible by 3. Now here we are going to work a slip stitch into the first stitch that started the row, and then I will chain 6, turn my work. 3 of the chains act as a stitch, which stitch has to be right there. Okay, so I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches, then work a double crochet into the next stitch. Here I'm going to chain 3, skip 2, and work a double crochet into the next stitch. Like I said, you must have a total of 39 single crochets. But because the last stitch, because we are going to work a slip stitch into the last stitch, make it a total of 38. Okay, let's deduct that one. All right, and make it a total of 38 single crochets. Then start working what I am doing here. Chaining 3, skipping 2, and working a double crochet into the next stitch. Do this all the way across. I'm going to meet you once you have 2 stitches left to end your row, so I can show you how to end your row. Okay, so let me meet you right there. Now I've gone all the way around, and this is what I have. Okay, I already have 12 chain gaps, so I have 2 stitches left to end my row, and I am going to chain 1. Okay, I'm going to chain 1, yarn over, skip those 2 stitches, and get into the 3rd chain stitch of the 6 chains that started this row. I'll pull through my yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all. So that's how you should end your row. Now once again, I'm going to chain 6 and turn my work. Remember to turn your work on every row that you work for your sleeve. So I'll skip and get into the next chain gap, and I'll work a double crochet. chain 3, get into the next chain gap, work your double crochet, chain 3, get into the next chain gap and work your double crochet. Now this is what you are going to do all the way around, going back down here, and once you get to this very last chain gap, the chain gap, you work a double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, get into the third chain stitch of the 6 that started this row, pull through your yarn, pull through 2, then pull through all, just like I ended the previous row. So just copy the knowledge and work the very same thing for your next rows until you have the length that you desire for your sleeve. Okay, so just like you see my sleeve right here, I have 25 rows. Okay, but those are not the rows that I need for my sleeve. I need 30 rows, so basically I still have about 5 rows to go before I call it quits for this sleeve. So do the very same thing for the other sleeve. Copy all the knowledge on how we join the under bust and the shoulders and the sleeve all the way to down here to your wrist. Okay, and make sure that you have 30 rows for your sleeve. Okay, now I am going to let you guys work your project and finish it all the way. Please remember how to end your row. Okay, I've showed you how to end your row when working the sleeve. Then later, once you have all that complete, let me just take you through on how to add fringes along this whole entire edge. Okay, so here we are. I have my piece already that is black, size medium. So I'm just going to take out one of the fringes I worked for one of these chain gaps, just to show you how to add yours. So just get a few strands and fold the 2 ends. Make sure that 2 ends meet on the other side, so you create a loop in between, and get that loop, put it onto your hook, pull through that chain gap where you're adding your fringe, and then pull through the loop that you have created from those strands. And there, when you pull all the strands, you'll find that your fringes have been added perfectly. Okay, so I hope I'm clear about that. So add them along the whole entire edge, just like you see on this piece, and there you have your top complete, and this is how it should look like. Thank you guys so much for watching my tutorials, and please make sure that you follow me on my Instagram and Facebook. I have a community right there where I share most of the projects that I'm working on, so you can join my community, NAIRUKU's community. Thank you so much. Let me see you all in the next tutorial. Goodbye.